Welcome to the Explainer. So let's jump right into this, because I want you to picture a very specific physical obstacle. Imagine you're a high school student, just about to enter your freshman year, and you have this one ultimate dream. You want to play the snare drum in your high school marching band's halftime show. Sounds simple enough, right? But there is a massive physical roadblock standing right in your way.
And here's that roadblock. A standard snare drum, along with the heavy harness you need to carry it, weighs roughly 40 pounds. Now, for a typical high school freshman, lugging around 40 pounds while trying to march in formation is tough, sure, but it's totally doable. But for this particular 17-year-old student, carrying a 40-pound drum was physically impossible. Because of this, the band director initially put him in the pit percussion section. Now, pit percussion is fun. You get to play the bongos, the timpani, the cowbell, but it involves absolutely zero marching. For a kid whose ultimate dream was to be out on that field during the halftime show, this was completely devastating. And to really understand why that 40-pound drum was such an insurmountable hurdle, we have to look at the reality of his situation.
The contrast here is just staggering. The student we're talking about is Sam Burns, and Sam himself weighed only about 50 pounds. That 40-pound snare drum was practically the size of his entire body weight. This extreme physical reality was due to a rare genetic disease that Sam lived with. But the thing you need to know about Sam is that he was absolutely not the type of person to let a logistical hurdle stop him from chasing down his dream.
This right here brilliantly illustrates the power of sheer determination. Sam and his family just refused to accept defeat. They teamed up with an engineer to invent and design a completely custom snare drum harness that would be much lighter and actually possible for him to carry. After a lot of trial and error, they successfully built a custom apparatus that weighed only 6 pounds. With this incredible 6-pound adjustment, Sam was finally able to march right out onto that field during the halftime show, playing the Spider-Man theme song alongside his band.
To truly appreciate Sam's triumphs, we need a little bit of context about what he was actually up against every day. Sam lived with progeria. It's an incredibly rare genetic condition. When Sam gave a famous talk about his life, he pointed out that progeria affected only about 350 kids worldwide. Just 350 kids on the entire planet. Understanding that extreme rarity really helps us grasp the completely unique physical reality he had to navigate. The physical toll of progeria is really severe. It causes tight skin, a severe lack of weight gain, which is exactly why Sam weighed only 50 pounds at 17 years old, stunted growth, and heart disease. But what's genuinely amazing here is that Sam's family didn't just passively accept this diagnosis. His mother and her team of scientists actually published the very first successful progeria treatment study. This was a massive medical breakthrough, and it naturally led to a whole lot of media attention for Sam and his family.
Which brings us to our roadmap for today's Explainer. We are going to officially meet Sam Burns and then break down his 3-pillar philosophy. Focus on what you can do, choose your inner circle, and always keep moving forward. Then we'll look at how he redefined his obstacles, and we'll finish up with one final, very fun rule for living well.
Section 1. Meet Sam Burns, the architect of happiness.
Because of his mother's groundbreaking medical research, Sam ended up doing an interview with NPR. And during it, the reporter asked him what the single most important thing people should know about him was. Sam's answer was profoundly simple. He just said, "I have a very happy life." He wanted to make it crystal clear that, yes, there were huge obstacles in his path because of progeria, but he absolutely did not want anyone feeling bad for him. He didn't waste his time dwelling on those obstacles, mostly because he usually found a way to overcome them anyway. So the big takeaway right out of the gate is that this entire explainer is about focusing on joy, actionable choices, and perspective. It's not about pity.
All right, aspect number 1. Focus on what you can.
This first pillar is entirely about energy allocation. It's about where you choose to shine your mental spotlight. Sam famously said, "I'm okay with what I ultimately can't do because there is so much I can do." Now, he was quick to clarify that this doesn't mean you just stick your head in the sand and ignore the negative parts of life. He knew exactly what he was missing out on. He knew he was never going to run a long distance, and he knew he couldn't go on some intense, crazy roller coaster. He didn't pretend those limitations weren't real. Instead, he just deliberately placed his focus elsewhere.
He poured all of his energy into his can-do category, the stuff he was deeply passionate about. Things like scouting, making music with his band, geeking out over comic books, and of course, cheering on his favorite Boston sports teams, which he always brought up with this really self-aware, grounded sense of humor. Whenever he hit a roadblock, like that heavy snare drum we talked about, he would just make adjustments so he could shift that activity right back into his can-do category.
Aspect number 2. Choose your inner circle. This pillar is all about the profound importance of the people you intentionally surround yourself with every single day. Sam's golden rule was to surround himself with people of high quality. He deeply appreciated his incredibly supportive family for sure, but he also cherished his friends. He described his close-knit group at school as a bunch of goofy band geeks who just genuinely enjoyed hanging out together. Crucially, these were people who saw him for exactly who he was on the inside. They provided this real, positive influence that kept him completely grounded, even when he was starring in documentaries or popping up on national television. And this perfectly captures the power of that community. Sam said, "The music that we make together is true, is genuine, and it supersedes progeria." When he was playing music with his band, he didn't even have to think about his disease. True community and shared passions provide this positive force that can literally eclipse our physical limitations. It's a great reminder to really appreciate your mentors, your friends, and your family because they make a massive, tangible impact on your everyday life.
Aspect number 3, always keep moving forward.
Sam actually adopted this philosophy from a Walt Disney quote. It's all about the absolute necessity of maintaining forward momentum. Sam made sure he always had something on the horizon to look forward to, something to strive for, to make his life richer. And you know what? It didn't have to be some massive, life-altering event. It could be something as simple as waiting for the next issue of a comic book to drop, a big family vacation, just hanging out with friends on a Friday, or going to the high school football game. Having these milestones keeps you in a forward-thinking mindset. Sam realized that if he wasted energy feeling sorry for himself, he'd get stuck in this terrible paradox of self-pity, where there's literally no room left for happiness or any other emotion. Forward momentum breaks that paradox.
Section 5. Redefining the obstacle. A masterclass in perspective. Let's talk about reframing, because this is fascinating. About 4 years before he gave his talk, HBO filmed a documentary about Sam. And when you look back at the footage of his younger self, you see this incredible mental shift happen. When Sam was younger, progeria felt like this monstrous entity to him. It was this heavy embodiment of stress, a barrier that stopped him from doing things, and this looming specter of death. But as he got older and actually learned more about the genetics behind it, he completely shifted his perspective. He started viewing it simply as an abnormal protein that weakens cell structures. That's it. It was no longer some malicious monster out to get him. It was just an objective, biological abnormality. And that cognitive shift, it completely took the emotional burden off his shoulders.
But look, Sam was also incredibly realistic. He knew that just having this positive philosophy didn't make him immune to hard times. In fact, he faced a really severe test when he caught a bad chest cold and had to be secluded in a hospital for days, totally isolated from everything that gave him his identity. During that time, his philosophy was really put to the test. He realized that sometimes you just have to accept when you feel bad. You acknowledge the emotion, and then you actively do whatever is needed to move past it. He openly admitted that he faltered and had bad days in that hospital bed, but he came to this powerful realization. Being brave isn't supposed to be easy. It requires active, sometimes really difficult bravery to keep moving forward.
So let's take a quick mental snapshot of this framework, because it's brilliant. 1. Don't waste energy feeling bad for yourself. Focus entirely on what you can do. 2. Surround yourself with high-quality people who see the real you. And 3. Always keep moving forward no matter how small that next step is. It is a profoundly actionable blueprint for overcoming practically any obstacle life throws at you.
And finally, Section 6. One last piece of advice. Never miss a party. Before we wrap up, Sam had one final surprise rule for living a great life, and it was this: never miss a party if you can help it. I just love this. It's such a joyful, fun addition to his philosophy. And he wasn't just saying it to be cute, he actually lived it. He ended his talk by excitedly announcing that his high school homecoming dance was the very next night, and he fully intended to be there. It's the perfect reminder to actively participate in the joy of life whenever the opportunity pops up.
So, to wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a question so you can apply this directly to your own life today. Think about an obstacle you are currently facing right now. Are you focusing on the crushing weight of the 40-pound snare drum, or are you actively looking for your 6-pound engineering solution? Ask yourself, what is currently in your can-do category? Master your perspective, find your forward momentum, and whatever you do, don't forget to enjoy the party. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.